So this video has put me in a little bit of a pickle. While I do feel that I wrapped up the story very nicely in The Amazing Venomized Circus Part 2, there's still some characters that I want to venomize from the series. Mainly the main character. So I wrote an epilogue of sorts that admittedly doesn't really go with the pictures that I'm drawing today, but I'm still really happy with how both turned out. So let's get into The Amazing Venomized Circus Part 3. Let's create some chaos.
Pomni walked through the main area of the tent, darting her head back and forth. Even with the low number of digital inhabitants, the place seemed eerily empty. Anywhere she turned, she couldn't find anyone. Not that it would have been easy to find anyone at just a glance. The main area of the tent was cluttered with a slew of large items and obstacles. Colorful tubes resembling slides intersected each other in the area above her as balconies ran along the perimeter of the tent. On the ground, there were giant blocks, dice, and other mega-sized toys. There were too many blind spots and corners. Someone could be watching her and Pomni wouldn't even know it. As it turns out, someone was doing exactly that. From behind a pile of abnormally large blocks, a pair of eyes stalked its prey, waiting for the right moment to strike. Pomni unknowingly walked past her stalker. The figure darted out from behind its hiding place and jumped behind another set of blocks, closer to its prey. It slowly rose its head to look over the edge of the block, watching, waiting. It ducked when Pomni turned her head in its direction. "Ragatha? Kane? Is anyone around?" Pomni called out, but was met with no answer, other than her own echo. Pomni turned back and continued walking. The figure took this opportunity to strike. It came out from behind its hiding place and bolted toward the jester. It pounced, ready to tackle Pomni. She turned around at the last second and screamed as a purple rabbit landed on top of her. "Sorry, new blood. Didn't see you there." Jax got off the ground and dusted himself off, chuckling to himself. Pomni, on the other hand, remained curled up in a ball on the floor, shivering and whispering to herself. "The goop is gone. The goop is gone. The goop is gone. The goop is gone." "Jax! Leave her alone. She's been through a lot from the last adventure." "Oh, come on. Everything worked out in the end. If she can't handle some goopy monsters, she's going to abstract before we know it." Ragatha knelt down at Pomni's side and tried to console her as she kept mumbling to herself. "You're right, but it doesn't mean you have to torment her and tackle her." "Ugh, when did you start hating fun?" Before Ragatha could respond, Kane appeared out of thin air and called for the rest of the group to gather. "Good!
Insert time of day here.
Everyone, because we have a new member, and because Kaufman abstracted, we have to redo our theme song. Line up, everyone. We begin in 5. The crew all scrambled to get into place. Jax and Zubul grumbled about having to redo the intro song yet again, but knew protesting it was a waste of effort. Ragatha guided Kinger to his mark as he stood and stared into the tent's colorful distance, and Gangle was making sure her comedy mask was fixed, leaving only Pomni, who, albeit stopped shaking, was still curled up in a ball on the floor. Kane was about to begin when he noticed that Pomni hadn't moved along with the others. What's wrong with her?" "Oh, you know, she's still a little freaked out from the whole thing about us turning into monsters and trying to eat her." Jax popped his head out from behind the curtain, feigning concern. "Poor little thing shouldn't have gone through something so awful, especially since she's so new here." "There's no need to worry about that anymore, Pomni. Thanks to your quick thinking, I was able to trap all that nasty goop where it can't get any of us again. So let's say we get you behind that curtain and make you an official member of the Amazing Digital Circus cast." Kane swooped down and picked up Pomni. He dropped her off behind a set of curtains at the very back of the stage before he launched into his intro monologue. The same music that Pomni heard when she first entered the digital circus began playing as a disembodied voice introduced everyone. She could hear the faint sound of curtains drawing as she counted who was introduced. Gangle, Zubul, Kinger, Ragatha, and Jax. She was up next. Her breathing became heavier as the curtains pulled back, revealing her to the open circus. Pomni let out a panicked scream and fainted. When Pomni opened her eyes, she was on the tiled floor of the tent again, but something was off. Things were darker and less saturated than usual, and it felt less lively overall. A familiar snarl echoed through the air.
Just hearing it made Pomni's blood run cold, if she even had blood in this digital landscape. Pomni whipped her head back and forth to see where the sound had came from when she saw it. A symbiote-covered clown watching her from one of the balconies above her, its tongue running laps around its bright red lips. However, this one looked different from the ones that had taken over her friends and Kane. The symbiote was less smooth and rounded, replaced by glitchy geometric shapes. Instead of tentacles, it was covered head to toe in glowing eyes facing in all different directions. Pomni turned and ran, or at least she tried to. Although she could feel herself willing her body to get away, she barely made any distance, like she was moving in slow motion. The venomized clown jumped from the balcony and landed on the ground with a thud and launched itself at her. Pomni tried with all her might to get her body to move faster, but it was no use. She wasn't getting anywhere. Before she could come up with another idea, the creature was on top of her. It pinned her to the floor with one giant hand, opened its mouth, and bit down on Pomni's head. Pomni jolted up and started to scream again, but abruptly stopped when she looked around. She was still in the tent, but the colors and life seemed to be restored. Everyone was huddled around her, looking at her anxiously, except for Jax, who was admiring the circus scenery. Bubble was closest to her and was holding a stethoscope to her chest.
Well, I can't hear a heartbeat, but then again, I don't have any ears, so I guess everything's all right.
Well, thanks for nothing.
Kane floated over and popped Bubble out of existence.
I have to say, Pomni, I've seen some creative intros during the theme song, but no one's ever blacked out before. I'm sure the audience will love it. Though, I messed up one of my lines. Do you think you could do that again?
Pomni turned to the side and vomited a puddle of black liquid. Immediately, another bubble appeared out of nowhere and began cleaning it up.
Kane, maybe we can hold off on the theme song for now. I think Pomni needs some rest.
Fine by me. We'll pick up where we left off tomorrow. See you then.
With that, Kane and Bubble disappeared into a puff of smoke.
I don't want to do this stupid theme song again. It's a waste of time.
Well, you can blame Pomni for that one. At least the last clown we had here was kind of fun at times. This one just cries and screams, almost like a baby.
Jax, please!
Ragatha's voice was sharp and stern, with no trace of her usual kind and soothing demeanor. She turned towards Pomni. How are you feeling? Can you stand?
I think so, but I would rather lie down.
Pomni's voice was weak and trembling.
Okay, let's get you to your room.
Ragatha helped Pomni to her room and laid her down on the bed. As she was leaving, Pomni called to her.
Hey, Ragatha?
Yeah?
I think I dreamt about Kaufmo.
Quick interruption, if you want any of these drawings from this episode or the Amazing Venomized Circus as a whole, they will all be available for posters on my Teespring store. So feel free to check it out. Link will be in the description below, alongside a link for the KyngPin Creations community Discord. It's just a fun place where me and the community hang out in between uploads. It's really fun, and I'm just very thankful that I have a community to make a Discord for. So thank you all so much. All right, let's wrap up this story.
Pomni lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling. She was too afraid to close her eyes lest she enter another nightmare-scape of goopy horrors. She thought about what Jax had said, about her abstracting if she couldn't handle a simple adventure. That scared her even more. She had come into contact with the abstracted beings when trying to defeat the venom monsters taking over anyone, and it was the worst feeling of pain that she could remember. Of course, she had still been, air quotes, herself when that happened. Maybe fully abstracting wasn't as bad, although she wasn't eager to test that theory. A knock on the door snapped Pomni out of her thoughts. Before she could acknowledge it, the door opened and someone stepped inside. Hey, how you holding up?
Go away, Jax. I don't want to hear anything you have to say.
Don't be like that, frowny clown. It was all in good fun.
I said go away.
All right, calm down. Just let me talk, okay?
I don't want to.
Trust me, you do. Jax walked further into Pomni's room and sat on the edge of her bed. He took a deep breath and began. What I said was true. If this is how you handle Kane's adventures, you're not gonna last long in this place. Believe me, I know. Jax's demeanor completely changed. There was no smugness or cruelty in his voice, but rather genuine concern. Pomni didn't know if that was a good or a bad thing. My first adventure here was by far one of the worst, Jax continued. Kane had us swim around in the lake in search of treasure, with the added bonus of a giant lake monster, of course. We tried to stay together as a group. Cast was a bit different then, but the monster swam right through us and we all scattered like a school of fish. I floated alone in the dark water, barely able to see my hands in front of me. I hardly had any knowledge of what this place was at the time, but I knew I wouldn't make it. I began to give up hope, ready to spend the rest of forever in that lake. I could feel the darkness of the water creeping into my mind. It felt pretty similar to when that venom thing got me. Anyway, Kane wound up pulling me out of the lake and announcing the adventure was over. It sounds cliche, but coming out of that lake was like an awakening. The feeling of hopelessness was the worst thing I could ever remember feeling, and if I let the adventures get to me like that again, I knew it would wind up being a lot worse.
God, I'm sorry, Jack.
Save the crocodile tears, new stuff. I'm just not eager to lose anyone else. Especially you. It's too much fun messing with you. Jax got up from the bed and walked towards the door. He opened it, but stopped in the doorway and turned back towards Pomni. Oh, and Pomni? He was back to his normal, sarcastic self. You repeat this to anyone, and goop monsters will be the least horrifying thing you experience here.
If you like this video and you haven't seen the first two parts of the series, then I highly recommend you check them out. I feel like it has my best artwork and storytelling in it. So those will be linked next to me in just a couple of seconds. Well, other than the Glowing Queen, I think I've venomized every amazing digital circus character we know about so far. So I'm going to sit right here waiting for episode 2 so we can continue this series. In the meantime, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed the video. The channel is almost at 1 million. No, wait, sorry. Typo in the script. The channel is almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is absolutely mind-blowing. The channel has grown in numbers at a rate that I can't even comprehend. The fact that 900 plus people have decided that this channel has content worthy of being watched and sticking around for just really means a lot to me. I know you're probably sick of hearing me say thank you, but I truly mean it. And if we can get to 1,000 subscribers before February, I think we can get the community involved in some of the videos. What do you say? Sound fair? And that's all I've got for you today. My name is KyngPin Creations, and I will see you all in the next video. Until that time, take care, everybody.